Yo, 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 what to do, everybody? This is your boy, the Black Gandhi, bringing y'all another video today. Another episode of JP RANTS. Here we go. Let's get right into it. For those who don't know, um, a lot of stuff has shaken up the last few days in the NFL. And in terms of the funny thing is they're all running backs. The Bills decided not to, match the Patriots offer sheet for their running back Mike Gillingsley. So he'll be a new addition to the New England Patriots on a 2-year deal. They'll pay him $4 million in the first season. I believe the deal is $6.3 million overall. So Mike Gillespie, welcome to the Patriots. And in terms of LeGarrette Blount, it looks like he will not be in New England anymore. It looks like he's gotten interest from the Giants. I would hate for him to go to the Giants because that's the same thing Shane Vereen did. And since that happened, forgot all about him. But in LeGarrette Blount's case, he was there for 2 Super Bowls. I'm not going to do that to him. It's just unfortunately, the game's changing, and with our offense, we don't need a prototypical old school running back on our roster. So hopefully, with the Giants, he'll get the touches that he wants and needs, and he can succeed there. Except when it comes to us. But other than that, hope he succeeds. Adrian Peterson, obviously, yesterday, is closing in on a 2-year deal with the Saints, worth $7 million overall. I don't know if this is a great fit for him, but this is pretty much the last opportunity he was going to have before the draft to sign with a team. He visited Seattle, he visited New England, no deals. He visited the Saints originally, no deal. So, and one of the other places, Oakland, looks like pending a physical, have their running back position filled now. But hope AP the best in New Orleans. Hopefully he can bounce back and be the old AP. And then in terms of Marshawn Lynch, obviously about a month ago, story broke that he wanted to come back, but he would only come back if he could play for Oakland. But the problem was Seattle had his rights, so they would have to trade his rights over to Oakland in order for a deal to happen there. And it looks like pending a physical, a deal will happen between the two sides. If I had to guess, it will probably be for a third or fourth round pick. And the Oakland Raiders have become probably the biggest threat to New England in the AFC now with the addition of Marshawn Lynch. And we already know they're going to address their defensive needs in the draft, so it looks like they're ready for business. So that's it for the NFL. Let's talk about the NBA now. Unfortunately, we had a great slew of games last night. A great, not so great game between the Spurs and the Grizzlies in comparison to the rest of the series. Spurs have the 3-2 advantage now going into Memphis for Game 6. I think Memphis will win that game and go and force a Game 7, and San Antonio will ultimately win in 7. The Jazz beat the Clippers in LA last night behind Joe Johnson closing the deal. And I think the Jazz are going to close it out at home in 6. And I think there's going to be major shakeups with the Clippers. Probably starting with Doc Rivers. I think he's gonna, if he's not completely let go, he's losing either the head coaching job or the GM job. I would assume it would probably be the GM job, but he'll continue to be the head coach, or he might just be fired altogether. Major shakeup will be coming for the Clippers. Blake Griffin will not be a Clipper next year. I think he'll somehow wind up in OKC. I also think that JJ Redick in a sign and trade will also end up in OKC. And they'll probably get Enes Kanter or something like that back in the deal. Because the Oklahoma City Thunder obviously lost to Houston last night, losing in 5. And that's actually the particular series I want to talk about. Obviously, the biggest question this year was who's the MVP, Russell Westbrook or James Harden. We won't find out till June 26th, which I think is a bad idea, but that's a whole another issue. I was flip-flopping between the two. I started with Westbrook. Then for most of the season, I was riding with James Harden. Then I switched back to Westbrook. And then for a little bit, I was on the co-MVP thing for a little bit, for about a week or two. But these playoffs definitely show that Russell Westbrook is no question the MVP this season. And I'm going to tell you why. And it's all about, I don't care what OKC did in the series, blah, 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 blah. Russell Westbrook averaged a triple-double in the series, yada, yada, yada. This has all to do with one man, James Harden. Now, James Harden did not improve his statistics that much from his 2016 campaign to this year. What I mean by that is that he averaged 29, 7 to 7 in 2016, and he averaged 29, 7, and 11 this year. Not that much of an improvement. Not that much. Just really a 4 assist average bump. And then on top of that, he averaged, I believe it was 33, 7, and 7 in this series, which is significantly down. Plus, also, he shot 41% from the field, 3 percentage points less than he shot in the regular season. He shot 24% from the 3-point line, 10 percentage points less than he did in the regular season, with 44% field goal percentage and 34% 3-point field goal percentage, respectively. But somehow the Houston Rockets were able to win in 5. Why? Because this series showed that even if James Harden isn't playing his best, that Houston team can easily beat OKC, even with Russell Westbrook playing at a high level. And in terms of the Thunder, everybody's going to get a piece of the blame here. Everybody is, including Westbrook. I give Westbrook 20% of the blame for the reason why they lost in the way that they did. He shot them out of game 2. And in my opinion, going into game 5, they should have been up 3-1. But like I said, he shot them out of game 2. And in game 4, this team quit on him. There was no player movement in the fourth quarter, unlike in the first 3 quarters. And I could pretty much probably go points of 4 or 6 different possessions and probably each loss that contributed to the fact that there was just no player or ball movement in the fourth quarter. It just wasn't. Nobody was trying to make a conscious effort to play, to help Westbrook out, set screens for him. It was literally, they were just standing there waiting for Westbrook to do something. And I love how everybody says, oh, but Russell Westbrook only had 6 assists in the freaking fourth quarter of the entire series. Well, when his players aren't moving, and people who play 2K will know this the best. Quick nibit. In NBA 2K, if you give the ball to a player that's just standing there, not moving around, and you go ahead and put up the shot, what's most likely going to happen? 8 times out of 10, unless if they have the catch and shoot badge, they're going to miss the shot. You need player movement. Not just ball movement. You need player movement in order to succeed in this league, especially the Oklahoma City Thunder, who cannot make threes. They are the worst 3-point shooting team in the league this year. They were definitely the worst 3-point shooting team in the playoffs. They need player and ball movement so that way they could get and open up the paint to get easy shots. And nobody was moving besides Russell Westbrook in the fourth quarter of the losses. I could probably even say in the game 3 win that nobody was really moving. They just lucked out that Houston didn't have enough time to catch up, to be perfectly honest with you. But in game 2 in particular, Russell Westbrook definitely shot them out of that game. So he gets 20% of the blame just for that game 2. The rest of the players get 20% because they quit on him. Plain and simple. Victor Oladipo was completely inconsistent. Steven Adams, once again, freaking MIA. Completely has been MIA since last year's playoffs. And his cancer was a complete liability defensively, so he couldn't even play. So that was their best offensive option besides Westbrook not being able to play. Robertson is a freaking complete joke offensively. He did a great job on Harden defensively in the series, but a complete joke on the offensive end. How you shoot 14% from the free throw line in a freaking playoff series? How do you shoot 42% from the line as a wing player? That's pathetic. That's honestly pathetic. Who cares if he can't shoot? Who cares about that? LeBron can't shoot, but he makes up for it in a whole bunch of different ways. The fact that these guys, with maybe the exception of Taj Gibson and Jeremy Grant, did not show up offensively in this series, should completely sway everybody that Russell Westbrook is the MVP. Because James Harden had a bad shooting series. He had a bad series really overall. He bumped up his points. He had to 33 points a game, whatever. But his assist numbers was significantly down. He regrets back to what he was last year. And they were still able to win the series, which proves to me that Mike D'Antoni's system is more determined for the reason why Houston succeeded this year rather than just James Harden, because we see James Harden had a horrible shooting series and they still won in 5. Now, if they won in 7, that'd be a different story, but they won in 5. Can't I can't make an MVP case for James Harden after that. He didn't show up in the first round. He was ineffective, but his teams were still able to win. Clear cut right there, y'all. In terms of the rest of the blame, I give 30% blame to Billy Donovan. He was significantly outcoached in the series, especially in the last two games. How in the world do you leave your worst free throw shooter in when they start the Hacker Robertson and let him go to the line for 10 free throws before you finally take him out of the game? This is his second playoff series. His second playoff run, excuse me. He went all the way to the Western Conference Finals last year. This is his second playoff run. How in the world do you leave your worst free throw shooter in the game when they start hacking him? You would think after the first time, as soon as they inbound the ball, you foul one of their players, you take Robertson out of the game on the dead ball. Put him back in at the 2-minute mark. Plain and simple as that. Billy Donovan is more to blame than anybody else in terms of on the court. And then the last 30% goes to the front office, Sam Presti, all them, because they built a team that is not only built for 90s brand of basketball, where the three-point shot really wasn't emphasized back then, but, emphasized back then. Used the wrong word there. But also built specifically for Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook on the same team. But now you pull Kevin Durant off the team and you address him, you address that loss with Victor Oladipo. And you address the loss of Serge Ibaka with Giannis Sabonis. Not a good job there, y'all. There needs to be major shakeups with this OKC team. Russell Westbrook needs the same kind of team that James Harden has. He needs to be surrounded by shooters, guys that gives him the freedom to go to the paint whenever he wants to. He can go ahead and kick it out to whoever he wants to. That's what he needs on this team. That's why I say Blake Griffin, JJ Redick, they're both going to end up in OKC one way or another. Probably Blake Griffin outright, and probably JJ Redick on a sign and trade, probably sending over Enes Kanter back in return. They need to cut Robertson immediately. I don't care how good he is defensively. When you're that much of a liability offensively and you're a wing player, we can't have you on the court. So he's got to go. I'm gonna give Victor Oladipo one more year, especially since you did give him that contract extension. Hopefully, if he works on his jumper, maybe he could be, a nice spacer for them as well. But there needs to be major shakeups with this team, big time. So I expect a whole bunch of trades to go down for OKC. Sam Presti in the past has proven that he could build this team great through the draft. Maybe Sabonis can, be that 4-man or even that 5-man that can stretch the floor for them. So that way Russell Westbrook has space. But the only real thing I learned from this Rockets Thunder series, y'all, is that plain and simple, James Harden is not the MVP and Russell Westbrook is definitely the MVP. That's really it, y'all. That's all I got today. So, if y'all enjoyed the video, leave a thumbs up. If you didn't, leave a thumbs down. Comment below your opinions. Am I wrong? Is James Harden to you still the MVP? If so, why? Do you agree with me that Russell Westbrook is no doubtably the MVP? Tell me why as well. Tell me some players that OKC should go after that upcoming free agency. And yeah, great night of playoff basketball tonight. Pulling for my Celtics to win tonight. There's rumors going on. Rondo might be coming back for Game 6 and 7, but it looks like he still will be out for Game 5. So, in case if that does come, that will be a big morale boost for Chicago. But we gotta take this game tonight. Make sure we take control of the series going into Chicago for Game 6. But yeah, that's it, y'all. Have a great day. Continue to stay blessed. And as always, this is your boy, the Black Gandhi, signing out. Peace.